Hi, this is Kim Watson. Welcome to the big picture, my weekly outlook of what is likely to happen this week. So what's likely is the key, obviously the key things, obviously things such as the news. Now, talking of news, no news is good news, and it seems that the close down in the US will result in obviously some numbers not being counted, and that in a sense is potentially working in for the benefit of the US dollar at the moment, because obviously if there's no poor numbers, or numbers aren't coming down a little bit, there's nothing for the markets or the traders to go on. So not only do we have missing out our commitment to traders sentiment, we also have some news missing from the US. So there is some due out in the coming week, but whether or not we'll see anything is another matter. So it's not massively big data, though, I should say, before I move on. But anyway, so I thought one other thing I thought I'd have a little look at or discuss here, and it's quite important because a lot of people look at, and I know Charlie's covered videos on it in the past in terms of traders sentiment, looking at the retail trader sentiment, looking at tools such as IG, etc. But I thought I'd do that. Have a look at that and see where we sat. I do generally keep an eye on what's happening there, and for the certain signs. I'm going to, instead of having hedge and sentiment here, the COT sentiment here, we're going to have longs and shorts here. How's that? Across these panels, and we'll put the percentages in. So for the euro dollar there, I'll put the numbers in where they're easily available, I should say. 63%, you can work out the 37, I'm sure. I'm just going to put the big numbers in. 59 on cable, don't need to use both columns here. Yen is sitting at 56. Ooh, he says. So there's not a lot of big S&Ps. I'm going to put both numbers in for the S&Ps down here. Whoops, that's badly drawn. 30 and 70, these are the numbers I've got anyway. Whoops, badly, sorry. You can see why I'm not an artist. Anyway, some people may argue with that, but it's just my style. So this is where the retail sentiment is sitting often completely reverse. I mean, you've got this bullish effect from the retail traders, and that everything's running down. You've got a bullish, and it is moving up, to be fair. Slight bullish tint here, and it's moving up. It's not overly bullish, but it's there, and not overly bullish on the yen. And again, it's moving up. So some retail traders do get it right some of the time, and they obviously get it right when they're in there. About 90% of them are long or short, but I think personally, I mean, this is the area where they're going to lose their money potentially. We'll see, and I'll show you why in a moment. But I'm certainly looking still, they call me the bearish, Mr. Bearish, I think, this week, and I'm still bearish on the euro dollar, and for good reason. So that's where we are with the sentiment. I just thought I'd throw that in relative to everything else. There's a bit of a dearth of data, really. We've got the World Economic Forum at Davos, so you'll get all the economic chappies all talking complete twaddle, and not really make a lot of difference. But it's on between the 23rd and 26th, so I've put it against the US dollar here, but obviously it could affect any of these pairings, or individual currencies, should I say, in their respective pairings. So that's that. In terms, nothing's changed in the US side. Even last week, again, there was the last couple of speakers that spoke. We're really following party line of looking at the policy. It's okay for now. It looks like they've got to neutral territory with interest rates, and all is hunky-dory. Still looking at potential growth, and well, we'll see when we see some numbers. So moving on to the euro, big week this week, aside of the flash manufacturing and services PMI, which are key. We've got the ECB meeting and press conference on the 24th, and really looking here for some direction from Draghi in terms of how things are going. I mean, it may be all hunky-dory at the moment in accordance to the world of Dr. Draghi, but for the rest of us, you can see that certainly a lot of numbers that are coming out at the moment aren't particularly supportive of a stronger euro side of things there. Pound wise, we've got Brexit. Obviously the Prime Minister's just spoken as I've videoed this. I wanted to just see what happened, and it's popped up. We'll go into that, but the pound has in the short term been on a daily basis been tracking up here, and as I said with the sentiment there, it was around about, what was it, 50, it's gone up to 60 since I've been talking. Obviously I've been pushing it up there, but the trend followers are actually on song here at the moment, and it's sitting around about 60% long at the moment. Dollar yen, ruled out the term. Again, we've got a Bank of Japan outlook report, the monetary policy statement, base rate, etc., and press conference on the 23rd. So again, we've got some data there which could see the dollar yen moving somewhat. Aussie dollar employment on 24th, so that's a big number, and we'll be looking at the earnings particularly within that report. Core retail sales for Canada. Now, as I said before, the numbers, if they're seeing things pushing up positive, okay, retail sales maybe not one of the major numbers, but they still want to see consumer spending as well. If these figures are looking good, it will put more emphasis on a stronger Canadian dollar. There is the potential for a further increase, so they've set that aside already. New Zealand dollar this week, we've seen some iffy figures coming through. It's not all looking wonderful. It sold off last week probably more than anything else, and it's gone into a bit of a more negative territory at the moment. You've got inflation data coming out next week, so that's that. And the S&Ps, no news is good news. The S&Ps saw another rally, so that's where we sit on the fundamentals, and looking at where we are in terms of money. There's no, we'll see euro and yen. We'll see what steps are going to be made this week and this coming week. One other thing I thought I'd have a quick look at, I was just looking at the order book here. Now this is an order book that we keep on one of our sites. It helps us picture where the positions are often. In fact, with the pound, with the euro dollar here, there's not a lot going on here. In fact, I'm on the daily picture there. I just wanted to just check. There's one or two of these. Let's get onto the pound. It's not going to move for me, so I'm going to have to undo the drawing object. There we go. There's the pound. Okay, so you've got buy orders still sitting above where price was earlier on. In fact, this is a little bit delayed now, so I need to update this. I was about to record it and then had to pop out. There we go. It's taken out those buy orders that were sitting up there now and taking the daily pivot with it. So there we go. That's pushing up. I was looking for further upside, and we just need to watch for this because we're seeing people short the pound, put a load of stops on there, and we can see it intraday now. That's really what I want to show on that for now. It's a bit of shorter time information, but it's been useful last week or so, particularly on the pound, where we're seeing these sort of counter rallies every time there's a downward move. Sorry, it's not on this, is the euro, but we're seeing the counter rallies on it. So, and it gives us some targets. Right. Now, looking at the euro dollar weekly, bear flag still sort of sitting there, rolling over, bearish pivot swing. It does look like if it sells off through these lows, there's the potential to sell off further. Now, we have got news, as I say, this week, which could just push that even further. As I'm looking at it, I know some people think, well, it's still got upside. Well, yeah, maybe it has still got upside, but it doesn't look great for me. It struggled from breaking the highs there, didn't hang on to those previous highs there. It sold off through and sold off every day last week, 5 down days. Okay, we might have a little update today, but I'm just watching these sort of levels to see if, particularly if we start breaking through that 1.3 area, which may give us a clear zone down to the 112. So, and depending on what Draghi says, but I don't think they've got a lot of good news to talk about at the moment. Looking at the pound now, slightly different case here. The pound's sort of holding its own a little bit. I mean, it's all over the place, like indecisive candle or what in that weekly there. Indecisive movement. It's holding its own. It's got potential to carry on if there's a deal that's agreed with Parliament. This could be at some point in the coming days, weeks, or if we see more positive talk, like we've just seen from Theresa May's speech there, we could see further upside in this and a bigger move up, maybe back towards the weekly 150 area for starters, those prior highs. So the pound looking bullish from a weekly point of view, daily wise as well. It's as I said, it's a choppy one. It can be quite a beast. Some days it will sell off quite a long way, but you notice on each of these sell-offs, the original one, which was put down to a fat finger press, it's pulled up strongly, and again it's pulled up strongly last week. It recovered well in the afternoon of that day, and well, we've got potential still, as I say, further upside providing we don't get any nonsense. Yeah, sorry, we already have a lot of nonsense, but even more nonsense then. Most people are just getting tired by it. I should say just about everywhere. Dollar yen has put this sort of well, potential for further upside. The central bank's meeting this week. It'll be interesting to see what they got. We're going to run into some points of resistance with the key moving averages, the 821 sort of sitting there. Certainly going to potentially run into traders' resistance at those points. From a daily perspective, it's pushing through. Nice solid day on Friday, and well, it could a small intraday day today, but there's not. It's a US holiday today, so Martin Luther King Day, so some of the volumes are certainly probably out the market. So potential still there for further upside. I think a lot of sort of wait and we'll see what comes from the central bank meeting there. Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar here on a weekly basis, well, it struggled last week and it put almost a bearish harami sort of sitting in there. It's not looking as good as it did. Now I was looking at this earlier last week and actually did take a long, never got a second long in there, it never really set up for me. It's still got the potential. If it can break through these highs here, I think I'd be sort of jumping on board and following the original trend that had started. But at the moment it's struggling and it's pitching lower. It's making sort of, it's broken through its monthly pivot there a bit, so not looking the best at the moment, and possible further downside, but I'm steering clear out of it mostly. As I said, intraday wise, I don't trade the Canadian dollar or the Aussie dollar much myself at all. In fact, I completely surprised everyone by trading the euro yen last week at one stage, which gave us a lovely trade. Anyway, moving on to the Canadian dollar, and well, a little bullish harami possibly sitting there yesterday, Friday. Yeah, Friday last week even. Got some potential here, but this numbers that we're expecting out this week, well, I think that might just shape the destiny of it for the short term. We'll just see how it runs in, but it's quite late in the week. I think it's on Friday we see the numbers from there, the retail sales. So all in all, I think it may be a bit of a waiting game for some of these. If this just carries on running and slowly going back up again, it's not filling me with particular confidence. If it can start breaking up more sharply, then I'd be looking back alongside. But really, having seen what we've seen here and what's been sitting here, fundamentally the better play on a bigger move may come to the downside if it were to occur. Okay, that's pretty much it for me. Oh, I didn't look at the S&Ps, and I know there's the S&P traders out there. Let's have a look at the S&P, the E-minis I'm looking at here, and we're going to start off on this weekly picture. Solid day, as I said, no news is good news. It certainly was the stocks last week. It's run into its weekly 21 at the moment, finding a bit of resistance there. It did close pretty close to the upper part of the bar there, which generally we tend to see a bit of continuation at some point, which is possible. It's certainly not run off, but it is a bank holiday, so it may just run its way back to that weekly pivot, and off it goes again. But at the moment, erring on the bullish side until data starts coming out, which does anything to the opposite. Okay, that's it for me. I wish you all a great week. Bye for now.